Hello and welcome to the Shaman's Cave. I'm Renee Baribeau.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Shamans Cave. I'm Sandra Ingerman, and I was starting to talk to Renee about where we're going on the show, and she said, "Well, you're on a roll, so let me just push record." So I'm going to continue where I was at. And right now, a lot of people are doing okay. We know that. But it's a very challenging time for a lot of people on the planet, not just around controversy or around fear, but actually the lives that they're living. We have so many people who have lost their jobs and are homeless. We have children who are starving, who can't get water, who can't get food. We have women being abused everywhere, but especially in Afghanistan right now, where with the Taliban coming in, women have lost all their rights. We have people being abused in all kinds of political situations, being put into camps and being tortured. And so a lot of people in the spiritual community start to feel really powerless about these kinds of issues, and they really start to eat at people, and people just move into a place of pity. They don't, they feel powerless, they feel a state of inertia. They can donate some money sometimes in certain situations, but a lot of the energy that we put into people who are having a hard time right now is we pity them. And whenever we pity people, we disempower them. And I'll just give you a crazy example that happened to me the other day. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but occasionally I go on for a particular purpose. And I was seeing a picture of a man who had a disability. And he found a way to be able to brace himself in a way where he was able to take a hike on this group that he was in, and he couldn't believe his excitement. I mean, this is something that could he could never do in his lifetime. And but my place immediately went to, instead of this incredible victory that this man had and the amazing bliss that came out of his eyes, I went to, oh my God, this poor man has this disability and has to live with it. And I stopped myself, and I have to say that in stopping myself, it's become another life-changing experience in my life.
Mhm.
Like when Isis said to me, when I was having a negative thought about somebody I was having a fight with, what was that thought and where did you send it to? My life was never the same again from that one sentence, because from that day on, I have to think about, what am I thinking about and who is receiving that energy from that thought. And now it's who is receiving that energy from my pity.
Mhm.
it- it's such a I've written about this in almost every one of my books. Pity is, you burden somebody when you pity them. It's like tying a rock that drowns them and doesn't let them come up for air, because the weight of pity, instead of seeing people as, you have the strength to get through this. Yes, it's a terrible situation, but this is what life has brought you, and you have the strength to get through it, and I'm going to feed that strength.
Hmm. It really is a shit show out there, Sandra. There's a
It is.
when you were going down that list, I'm thinking, oh yeah, it really, forget the pity. It's like, I'm more of the kind, we've made this bed that we're sleeping in, and it's like roll over for all of that extra baggage we've brought along. Um, you know, that was the deciding factor for me between when I had to really had to make a choice in my spiritual evolution between taking the road to the left or the road to the right, was that one of the two groups that I was, you know, committed to, that was part of their prayer for the creator to have pity upon them for
Mm,
just being mere mortals. And I could never subscribe to that way of thinking, you know. And yet you see where that kind of thinking has could really propagate a field of an experience.
mm,
Whereas when I went to Peru, they just were there was no pity for themselves, and every grain of corn and every little speck of sand was full with gratitude. And so if you think like, well, what is the field that they were going to grow with that, with those grains of gratitude as opposed to those grains of pity? And I I never knew why. And here we are having this conversation, some 30 years later, to think about, like, how does that divide us? And plus, if I have pity for someone, right, like that, then I think I'm better than them.
mhm.
I used to think that I was better than the alcoholic that was still suffering. Like, instead of denying them the dignity of their own spiritual experience, I wanted to get in there, slosh about, and fix it.
Right.
How do I know that you're not supposed to die of a heroin overdose this lifetime?
Mhm.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a really important point. And one of the places that I think these kinds of questions bring people to is the mysteries about life. Um, because we don't understand, we came here as little kids to shine and have these wonderful experiences. And, I keep talking about when I was 7 and I saw that the destiny of human beings was to actually live a blissful experience. And then my life has been one terrible initiation after another, and I'm wondering where where that blissful experience went. But
It's coming.
it's coming. So it's so important because I can really see the path that I've been on, the lessons, the growth, the evolution, and we keep on talking about how nature has to be challenged in order to grow. A seed has to be challenged in order to burst forth in the springtime to produce a new flower or plant. And so we get stuck in it's like it's not our business, but we want to be in everybody's business. We want to make it right for everybody. And I know that's a lot of reasons why people don't share what's going on with them. It's a lot of the reason I don't share everything that's going on with my health is you don't want the whole everybody in your business because basically people are projecting their opinions, their pity, oh, you poor thing. Um, that this is happening to you. All these people are homeless, all the health workers, people are getting stuck instead of what if you understand that I call it shamans or gardeners of energy, and we have a Facebook page around that to share inspirational quotes and photos just as a place to rest from all the craziness, just to see something positive in your day to uplift you. And that's what people who are having a really hard time, pity doesn't help anybody. Pity doesn't help anybody move forward. What helps people is when you really project, when everybody gets together and projects on their spiritual strength and on their spiritual light that they have, and that in this lifetime we don't understand it as egoic beings, but we came here with these lessons. And how do we support people going through these lessons instead of holding them back and feeling so sorry for them?
Mm. I had that experience. My older sister was in a nursing home for the last two plus years of her life. And one of the things that it was a gift for me to witness, besides for, mending our relationship and really meeting her where she was at. That's the thing, is meeting people where they're at. But what I watched, from a little bit from afar, because it was COVID and you couldn't go in, was that the, the people that she associated with, they built their community, like whatever I would have projected in on what a community would look like or should look like or could be, wasn't her reality of that. But I mean, she was just as sad when her friend there died,
Mm,
or who came over to help her was the guy who could get out of his wheelchair to help her. And so we think that we have the answers because we may be, a slightly, sitting in a better chair or something like that, or but that we really don't know. We never really walk in anyone else's shoes, and so we can't ever know what it is that they're learning in those lessons. And the best that I can do is to be a witness and listen to them and hear what they want to share. But as soon as I start to impede with my judgment, they don't want to tell me.
mhm. Right. Yeah, because a lot of people, I mean, of course, a lot of people are desperate for help, but a lot of people actually realize that this is their journey and that other people are interfering. And I share this in all my workshops because the hardest thing, the absolute hardest thing for me to teach shamanic students in this culture is the need for permission to do long distance work. For 40 years, it's my hardest topic. I mean, if people could, they would not let me move on from this topic for days. They just would want to talk about it over and over and over again. I mean, it's unbelievable because in most shamanic cultures, not all, but in most shamanic cultures, it's really important that a person steps up and asks for help. That's part of the healing, is to be able to ask for help, and that people have choices. People have a choice to say no. And my best friend a long time ago died of AIDS, and it really broke my heart. Number one, of course, his death broke my heart, but he didn't let me do any shamanic work for him.
Mhm,
He said, "This is my illness and this is mine, and I don't want help from anyone. This is my journey." And so I had to put down my drum. And where at the time I was arrogant enough to think that I could actually help him, I had to let go of it, and I just
mm,
had to be there for him as a friend. But one of the things that my students write to me is that they won't share with anybody that they have been diagnosed with cancer because they don't want whole circles of people who have been at workshops with them finding out and then pitying them.
mhm,
They don't want it. So either they let me know that they're dealing with something that they're not telling anybody about, or they just say, "I trust you to, because I know you won't pity me. I know that you'll see me in my light and in my strength. So the only person I'm telling is you." But it's amazing how much communication I get like that. It's amazing. But
mhm,
yet we live in a culture where people believe that we need to help people whether they want help or not.
mhm. And I really believe that's one of the reasons we've been able to sit here for 4 years is, you know, we all have conversations about what's going on and before we get on the call with each other. But whatever's going on with Sandra is hers to deal with, and whatever's going on with me is mine to deal with, unless she says, hey, could you help me with this? Or if I say, hey, can you help me with this? But let me show you this ruler, okay? This is my rule. There is no in-between permission. You either have permission or you don't have permission. And so I've heard so many things. And even recently I've heard somebody say, well, I'm married to them, so I have implied permission. No, you don't. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, Sandra, but
Yeah,
to me, it's like, no, if you were going to go ask Woods for, if he wanted some treatment or something, has the right to say no.
right.
I asked their higher self.
Yeah,
That's the best one. I asked your higher self, Renee, said that I could work on you. No, it did not.
yeah.
My higher self did not give you permission to send me anything. If I want you to send me something, I will let you know.
Yeah, the higher self thing for me is, and I say this in workshops, is like nails being scratched along a blackboard. I feel like I'm going to lose my mind when people start saying, well, a person's higher self. And I say, if a person's higher self wants to work so badly, tell the higher self to tell the person to open up their mouth and ask for, ask for help. In shamanic cultures, it was believed that if a loved one asked for help, that was permission. But what I try to explain is a shamanic culture had different reasons for doing that. In a shamanic culture, help was asked in behalf of someone who actually couldn't ask for it in their behalf. In our culture, it's because we want to change someone.
Right. It's a
And
judgment.
yeah, and so, somebody will say to me, will you do a soul retrieval for my husband? And I'll say, sure, does he want one? And then they'll go, no, I don't think he wants one, but I believe he needs one. So we cross a lot of boundaries. People are we don't want to desert people and say we don't care about the homeless. We don't care about all the people who have lost their homes from losing their jobs with the COVID or through environmental disasters. We don't want to say we don't want to hear about that, or we don't want to focus on these people, but we want to see them that they have the strength. We want to feed them with the energy of love and the energy of strength and the energy of light, that they have the ability to actually walk through this journey. And they came here to walk through this journey. And we don't understand that. That's part of the mysteries of the universe, is how could the creator, who's supposed to be so loving towards us, how can my spirits who have been so loving towards me through all these years let this happen to me? But it's part of life here on Earth. It's part of life here on Earth School. So our role is to change ourselves and to change our reaction to what we see as somebody else suffering, to this is somebody else's life journey. And
Mhm.
how do we hold space, like Renee had all the fire keepers holding space during the I Am Symposium? How do we as an earth community light a candle for people and hold space for them, and feed their strength and feed their fire instead of feed their weakness?
Mhm. I, a couple of weeks ago, I was driving out of the shopping mall, and we've all seen this. There was, the guy with the sign, and I reached in and I gave him $5. And the person I was with said, they make a lot of money collecting. I'm thinking to myself, like, well, that's not the job that I wanted. So if he's making a lot of money, showing up every day, doing his job, making me more humble, he earned the $5 that I'm giving to them. And that doesn't mean I always take out $5 and give, but the thing is that I really, my check arrives as a direct deposit where my health insurance is already taken out. Would I really choose to trade up to go stand at the end of the Marshall's parking lot
Mm.
with a sign? I think it's a really uh, a hard, a hard job that somebody picked this lifetime to be homeless and to be, living outside of societal norms. You drive through Seattle, and all along the highways are tent encampments. It's really
Mhm.
hard to stay like, oh, how can I go and, live in my world when this is the experience other people are having? And it doesn't mean you can't have compassion.
Right.
It just means that you're not better than them, and you're one step away from your own misfortune experience, and that you can help where you can help, where you're invited in to help, and where you're invited to make a difference. And maybe that's cooking at a food bank and listening to the wonderful stories that people share when that they're there. They have a whole other set of life experiences that I didn't have. There's probably shamans and healers and visionaries in those communities, as well as there are in our, in our communities. And the sooner I learned that, the better off my life became.
Yeah, I used to back in the 80s, I used to teach in Albuquerque at Martha Trolin's dance studio. And my workshops were very popular, and it was right across the street from the local soup kitchen. And so every night, people would line up at the soup kitchen, and my group would go out and interview people who were online. And I couldn't get them back into the workshop because they were more interested. They'd be out there for hours. I couldn't get them back in for the nighttime sessions. And what they learned is that most people, not all people, I'm not saying that everybody wants to be on the streets, but at this particular soup kitchen, most of the people made a choice that they no longer wanted to be part of society, and that they didn't want to be pitied by my group, that this was actually the choice that they made, the life that they wanted. And I know that right now a lot of people are homeless because they lost everything through the COVID or an environmental event. So I'm not making a blanket statement that this is everybody's choice. But the point is we don't know when somebody's suffering if they want help. Like nobody in that soup line wanted help. They were living the life that they wanted. Nobody wanted help. And let me tell you, my groups interviewed everybody on that. and
Come back.
and so some people do want help and some people don't, but we can't save everybody. We don't have that possibility to say it's not in our power. And so what is in our power is to hold space, to emanate love, to emanate light to everyone who needs help, and to see people in their strength, and to
Mhm.
see people like I had to change my perception of a man having a disability to a man who was in a blissful state because he was able to do a hike he never thought he'd be able to do in this lifetime. And so we all get little things, as Renee was sharing, about how to be more in gratitude than to be in pity. So
Mhm. Well, I think we've said enough about this subject, and how are you going to shine your light, to be the best light you are, so that people are attracted to that light and ask you for some help, or ask you, how do you have that light? I would like some of that light, instead of, thinking that you need to pour your light everywhere. Just be that light, and see who comes. And I don't have anything more to say on that. Do you, Sandra?
No, I don't. I think that we're complete on that. And so um, just perceiving people in their spiritual strength, that they have the inner tools to get through this. For those of you who feel powerless right now, that so many people seem like they're suffering and you don't know how to help, how you can help is see people as strong and visualize them making it through to a really good place. So thank
Mhm.
you, everybody, and don't forget to subscribe to Shamans TV, and don't forget to post on our Facebook page. And if you have a topic that you would like Renee and I to talk about, you can send an email to the Shaman's Cave, which I will get, and I'll let you know if it's an appropriate topic for us, and we'll put it on the list. So thank you, everyone.
And we'll see you again next week.